If I were an American with remote income or savings trying to move to Europe in 2026, these are the 4 countries I look at first. But remote workers often go about this in completely the wrong way because yes, the visa matters, but it's only half of what makes a country easy to move to. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 4 European countries you should seriously consider, what makes them realistic options, and how to figure out which one fits your work, money, and day-to-day life. But first, there's one major mistake you want to avoid because sometimes a country that looks easy for Americans is really just a country with a visa that fits someone else. Germany is a good example of this. From the outside, it can look fairly accessible. If you want to study there, look for a job, or move as a certain type of freelancer, there may be a path. But when I moved there while working remotely for a US company, I realized the issue was that none of those paths matched my situation, at least not without creating tax and employment complications for me and my company. And that's where this gets confusing because a country can have visa options for Americans without having one that actually fits your situation. So if you have remote income or savings, don't just look for a country with a visa that Americans can apply for. Look for a visa that fits Americans whose income, savings, or financial support comes from outside that country. Things like digital nomad visas, long stay visas, passive income visas, or certain freelancer and self-employment visas. Those are the paths that make a country realistic for the kind of move you're trying to make. And once you know which kinds of visas fit your situation, you realize the problem isn't having no options, it's having too many to choose from. I've been in this place myself, trying to figure out where I wanted to live next in Europe, and suddenly realizing there were more possible countries than I knew what to do with. I kept finding places with some kind of remote work or long stay visa, and at first that felt exciting because I thought, wait, maybe I have more choices than I realized. But that quickly becomes its own version of overwhelm because a visa can tell you where you're allowed to live. It can't tell you where you'll feel at home. So let me show you the 4 countries where remote income Americans most often find those 2 things overlap. The first is Spain. Spain gives you sunshine, a social outdoor lifestyle, regional variety, a lower cost of living than many parts of Western Europe, and large expat communities. Visa-wise, the main paths I look at are Spain's digital nomad visa and non-lucrative visa. The second is Portugal. Portugal gives you English spoken widely in many areas, large expat communities, a long coastline, and the ability to choose between the warmer, sunnier south or the cooler, rainier north. Visa-wise, I'd look at Portugal's D8 digital nomad visa and D7 visa. The third is France. France gives you access to beaches, mountains, wine regions, beautiful cities, world-class food, and the feeling that life can be slower without being disconnected from career or ambition. Visa-wise, I look at France's long-stay visitor visa. And the fourth is Italy. Italy gives you beauty, history, incredible food, a strong sense of culture, and a slower pace that a lot of Americans are craving when they imagine life in Europe. Visa-wise, I look at Italy's digital nomad visa or elective residence visa. So now you have 4 countries that make sense on paper, but a country can have the right visa, be popular with Americans, and still not feel right for you. I had this happen with Portugal. For a while, I really thought Portugal might be the next place I moved. It kept coming up in my research, a lot of Americans were moving there, and on paper, it seemed like it checked all the boxes. So when I went there, I wasn't just visiting it like a tourist, I was paying attention to whether I could picture my day-to-day life there. What would my routine look like? Or would I feel settled there after the excitement wore off? And once I looked at it that way, I realized I didn't feel the pull I expected. Not because Portugal was a bad option, but because I couldn't quite picture myself there. So once you have a few realistic countries on your list, I would look at 3 things. First, financial fit. Not just whether you can meet the visa requirement, but whether the actual cost of living works for you. Rent, utilities, taxes, health insurance in the city or region you're choosing, because you're not moving to an average cost of living. You're moving to a specific city with specific costs. Second, work fit. If you're working remotely, freelancing, or running a business, think about what your workday would feel like there. Time zone, internet, co-working spaces, whether you'll be taking calls late at night, and whether the pace of the place supports the way you need to work. And third, lifestyle fit. This is where you think about the parts of daily life that are harder to understand from a visa website. The language, weather, how easy it is to make friends, and if the daily schedule feels natural to you. And now that you have a better way to think about where you might move, the next question is how to actually do it, because choosing a country is only the beginning. So watch this video next, where I walk you through the basic steps to start turning the idea of moving abroad into an actual plan.